KOMO News presents
Snake attacks.
Florida teen tries kissing snake and surprise, surprise, gets face full of venom. Judging from his Facebook profile, Austin Hatfield's a big fan of snakes. Now, you'd think someone well acquainted with the often deadly reptiles would know that it's clearly a bad idea to try to kiss one. Well, not my boy Austin. The 18-year-old, who's apparently gainfully employed making money at moneymakers, caught a live 4-foot-long water moccasin while swimming and thought it'd be a good idea to bring it back to his girlfriend's house, where he placed it in a pillowcase. After the critter apparently escaped, Austin's next brilliant idea was to give it a kiss on the head, which resulted in him getting a deadly amount of venom injected right into his lip. Causing the once skinny-headed teen's face to blow up as large as the Michelin Man's. Despite making it out alive thanks to the efforts of emergency room doctors, Hatfield isn't out of the woods just yet, and could face charges for illegally euthanizing and possessing the snake.
Crikey! Horse watches a python chowing down. Gnarly photos of a 7-meter-long python eating a wallaby in Queensland, Australia have gone viral. Known as scrub python, these guys commonly chow down on smaller creatures. But hey, it was New Year's Day and Mr. Snake wanted to try something with a little extra bounce. And how exactly he got his fangs on this marsupial is anybody's guess, because wallabies bounce around at pretty high speeds. Amusingly, a nearby horse is also pictured watching the snake feast, and this curious equine went in for a really close look at the action. The images were taken by Bernie Worldsford. He told ABC it took the python 3 hours to swallow the wallaby. Wow! Ah, the perils of gluttony. Karma came swiftly for one voracious python who got screwed over by his dinner and ended up dying for it. After gorging itself on a whole canine, the 6-foot-long reptile tried to slither out of a grassy lot in Nigeria. But halfway through, its doggy bump got wedged in between 2 iron rods and just wouldn't budge. With no way to squeeze itself out, the snake remained in the tight spot for several hours and was dead by the time a local man discovered it. Shocked at seeing such a huge animal, the man called a few more people to inspect the greedy snake and make sure it had gone to serpent heaven. Once the python's body was freed and its stomach cut open to reveal the doggy dinner, into the fire it went. See ya, slithers! Best cut down on whole foods in your next life, eh?
Snake busts into internet cafe and scares the crap out of patrons. A group of users at an internet cafe in Ang Thong, Thailand got the shit scared out of them when an unexpected customer showed up at the door. The security camera footage, captured on April 8th, shows the moment the sneaky serpent, a rat snake, enters the room and immediately causes chaos, jumping into the joint and slithering around the room as the poor lads try to get on top of chairs or run for their lives. Here's some great news. We've got multiple angles to show you, and as you can see, each is just as entertaining as the last. Take another look at that angle in slow-mo, and you'll see the snake try to bite onto that poor guy's behind. He doesn't look too thrilled about it, does he? This is the camera angle from just outside the cafe. Keep an eye on the door there, and you'll see the slithery reptile spring through the gap the second he sees an opening. Wow, that guy's fast! Luckily for the jumpy patrons, rat snakes are not venomous, and as their name suggests, they typically feast on rodents and birds, suffocating them using their killer constriction technique. But the threat of death or serious injury aside, that's still no way to start a productive day. Where's Samuel L. Jackson when you need him? Tarantula photographed eating a snake for the first time in the wild. In October of 2015, a group of researchers walking around the grassy hills of Brazil stumbled upon an incredible sight, one they were surprised to witness up close. A huge tarantula feasting on the body of a ground snake. They photographed the spine-tingling spectacle and published a report of their findings in December. What happened leading up to the meal is unknown, but the team suspect the snake may have snuck into the area, coming across the cozy dark den with plans of calling it home. Little did the 15-inch snake realize the space already had a tenant. The tarantula was quick to give him notice. She would have sunk her almost inch-long fangs into the snake, the venom liquefying its insides. Once decomposed, the tarantula then enjoyed its meal, fueling our nightmares for years to come. The incident is believed to be the first known account of a tarantula eating a snake in the wild. The researchers report that previous incidents of tarantulas eating snakes have only been witnessed in controlled settings, where the snake would be introduced to the spider. Turns out, in the tarantula's lair, not only are small birds, rodents, and lizards on the menu, snakes are a delicacy too.
Python bites tourist going in for a kiss. If you have a weird desire to put your lips on a python, this video may change your mind. Shot at a snake show in Phuket, Thailand and uploaded to the web last week, the clip shows a 29-year-old Chinese tourist going in for a kiss with a reticulated python. Apparently, the snake was eager for some action as well, however, not the kind the tourist had in mind. Look at the snake handler's reaction, quite the opposite of calm and in control of the situation. A bite from the non-venomous snake was not life-threatening, but the snake definitely left a mark on the rest of the tourist's travel pics. The tourist, identified as Miss Jin Zhang, was treated for the wound on her face at the Phuket International Hospital. The Bangkok Post reports that she received 135,000 baht in compensation. That's roughly 3,700 USD. Hopefully that covered her vacation expenses and then some.
In Australia, not even the pythons are safe. Extremely rare footage of a brown snake eating a carpet python has been captured on film. Where else but down under? The incident was filmed on January 2nd at a suburban house near Brisbane in the state of Queensland. It shows a deadly brown snake taking several leisurely hours to devour his less fortunate fellow serpent, presumably after a fight to the death. Brown snakes are the world's second most venomous land snake and are responsible for about half of all human deaths from snake bites in Australia. The non-poisonous carpet python? Well, not so much. The incredible scene was discovered by fearless snake-catching duo Norman and Sally Hill. Sally filmed on her cell phone as her husband coaxed the brown snake into a bag. Norman made sure not to interrupt the feeding session so the python wasn't regurgitated. Apparently there's an old saying in Australia that if you've got a carpet python, you won't have a brown snake, but on this evidence, that's just a myth. In fact, Sally reckons the brown snake population is on the rise down under, which could be increasing competition for food. It might have taken 3 hours, but eventually the brown snake finished his meal and was then removed from the house. Usually brown snakes eat frogs, birds, rats, and mice. But according to the Australian Museum, the species is known to be cannibalistic in captivity and can prey on snakes of a similar size. Which just goes to show that in deadly Australia, even some of the biggest predators can sometimes become the prey.
Python suffocates alligator in underwater wrestling match. Alligators in South Florida haven't evolved to anticipate having to tangle with humongous snakes from Southeast Asia. But with the influx of Burmese pythons in the Everglades over the past decade, they'd better learn some self-defense, and fast. On the morning of December 21st, journalist Joe Capozzi was riding his bike when he heard some commotion coming from a swamp up ahead. What he saw shocked the hell out of him. A 6-foot alligator, belly up and fighting for its life, as a 15-foot python coiled itself around the gator's body. Capozzi wasted no time, grabbing his smartphone to record the intense encounter. He recalls that while the gator would pop up from the water every few minutes, the snake had total control over it, tightening its grip and robbing it of air, until it finally stopped moving. Capozzi says the scene looked like an alligator trapped in a stack of tires underwater. After watching for roughly 10 minutes, a clear winner having emerged, he continued on his bike ride and published a piece about what he saw 2 weeks later. Burmese pythons have invaded Florida's ecosystem over the past decade, the result of irresponsible exotic pet owners and the destruction of a python breeding facility in 1992, caused by Hurricane Andrew. More than 2,000 of the snakes have been removed from the area, but at the rate they breed, Floridians better hope their adult alligators enjoy the taste of python. Otherwise, this will become an even more familiar sight, and it's not a good look.
Woman approaches a rat snake and is surprised when it strikes her. Wait for it.
You're a long boy. That's the snake skin we saw. It was yours, huh? I'm going to touch you on the tail and see what you do.
Wait for it.
Whoa, you're mean. Are you a bad snake? Ah! He bit at my phone. Oh. Boy, that's gonna be a good one. You a mean snake, ain't you? Look at you. Whoa.
Snake bites woman's nose. Paramedics decapitated. A woman from Ohio who rescued a 5.5-foot-long snake didn't receive a thank you, but a gnarly bite to the nose after she likely got a bit too close. On July 31st, the 45-year-old woman was checking on 2 boa constrictors she had recently rescued when one of them jumped from its cage and latched onto her nose. Unable to pry the snake from her face, she called 911 to get help. With blood splattering everywhere, the woman frantically tried to explain her frightening situation.
Hello? I had a boa constrictor stuck to my face.
Ma'am, you have a what?
Boa constrictor.
You have a boa constrictor stuck to you?
4035 East Lake Road.
Panicked, the woman ran out to her driveway and collapsed as emergency crews rushed to her aid. With the snake wrapped around her neck, paramedics had no choice but to cut the snake's head off using a pocket knife. The woman, who is known around her neighborhood for her collection of 9 ball pythons, suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Meanwhile, the reptile was disposed of in a nearby trash bin. Boa constrictors coil around their prey to suffocate them to death. When you get too close, the fangs come out.